The state of Minnesota that we live in, and these politicians are just walking off, thinking it's okay Tuesday, and they want to go visit the Trump. They want to blame the Trump.
Man,
if Miss show us that you're black again.
He said, show us that you're black again. Show us that you're black again.
Bro, I don't need it. Bro, I'm not in a Zoom, man.
Show us that you're black again.
Be like I'm some kind of Zoom animal, man. I'm not gonna dance. I'm not gonna dance.
Infamous Russell Wilson.
He said, infamous, show us that you're black again.
Administration, we have Democrats blaming ICE. I'm tired. My people are suffering.
Avenue South in Minneapolis.
And so what makes Safari Transportation Company an interesting transportation company?
Well,
allegedly fraudulent.
Well, the thing about Safari is that they've been registered since 2015 with the state of Minnesota as operating vehicles. And again, the national average for a non-emergency medical transportation company is 20 vehicles. So if they've got 20 vehicles and they're at 607 Cedar Avenue, I have no idea where there's parking them because there is no parking anywhere near this office.
We've arrived to the transportation company. We're outside, and right there we have a Loving Arms adult daycare. All the windows are completely boarded out right there, and there's supposed to be a transportation company registered right here. It's 617, but it's a liquor store. So the location here is 607 and also 617. These are two transportation companies. We're on a main road right now, and this is 607, and it is not a transportation company. It's actually a money transfer, but it's registered here, 607. This does not look like Safari Transportation. Where is the transportation company?
I don't see any signs denoting that there's any transportation. It's all just looks like money wiring. But if you look at the Secretary of State's office, state of Minnesota, Safari Transportation, 607 Cedar Avenue, and it's been registered here since 2015. That was the original filing.
So let's see if we have the manager, let's see if we can find FOD. Hello. How are you? We're looking for the transportation company.
Safari Transportation?
Looking for Safari Transportation?
No, there's no Safari Transportation here.
No Safari Transportation?
Safari Transportation, 607 Cedar Avenue.
We're just looking for Safari Transportation. So, but this is registered for Safari Transportation, 607.
Okay, we don't know.
We're asking where Safari Transportation is.
We don't know.
Okay, so the business is not here.
Don't record.
Fuad Omar?
Fuad Omar?
We don't know. This, do you see this? What is this?
Money transferring.
That's it.
Okay,
well, this
registered.
Is from the state.
This is fraud taking place. This is supposed to say, this is for Safari Transportation.
Go find out.
Yeah, we did find out. This is fraud right here.
Registered here
This is registered.
2015.
2015?
Safari Transportation, state of Minnesota.
2015, wow. Oh, yeah.
Well, but it's registered now. This is current, just off the state of Minnesota website today. This is from today. I just printed this off today. Fuad Omar.
Go check it out.
We're here. This is 607. Where's Safari Transportation?
Okay, it's not Safari, period.
Okay, so it's a fraudulent business.
Did you see Safari anything here?
Exactly.
Did you see?
Exactly. It's not here.
See it?
It's a fraud.
Did you see, sir?
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to the next address. All right, let's keep moving on. So 607, this is supposed to be Safari Transportation, no transportation company. And now we're going to 617, another transportation company. However, it is actually Cedar Riverside Liquor. Where is the transportation company?
617.
617 right here?
Dreamline Transportation for the state of Minnesota is registered to 617 Cedar Avenue South.
And it's a liquor store. David, they aren't even trying to hide that these are transportation companies. Where are the vans at?
Should we ask?
Let's go ask.
Hey, we're looking for Dreamline Transportation.
What's that, guy?
Now we're in 617, Dreamline Transportation.
No.
Where is the transportation company?
No, we don't have this.
You ever heard of
Ladies and gentlemen, so scam is going on in Minnesota, and on the state treasurer, they're talking about transportation money laundering, but when they pull up, they never heard of anything, no whereabouts of transportation, anything. They only know to answer the phone when the white man calls. That's what they know. They know to answer the phone and receive the scam that they've been receiving. They don't know anything else. But what I'm trying to understand, ladies and gentlemen, if they're running a scam, right? Why did the officials not inform these Somalis when somebody comes to your place of establishment, tell them we are a safari transportation service. They didn't even have 2 F's, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't care enough to inform the Somalis about the scam that was going on. So, as we know it, Tim Watts, he did resign, and millions among billions of dollars, ladies and gentlemen, have been scammed out of Minnesota, but not just Minnesota, the whole United States. And I believe with these Epstein files that's later on going to be exposed in this video, a lot of corruption is going to be shed to light.
Safari transportation?
Safari, I know Safari, that money wiring, 607.
The money wiring.
Yeah.
Okay, that's money wiring.
Yeah.
Safari
We're looking for
transportation.
safari
Maybe
transportation.
there. 607.
They said they never heard of it.
I never did. Safari company, the money wiring, they send money there. That's the 607.
So Safari gets the
This man done snitched out his own people. All the other Somalis are like, no, get out of my place. No. This man pointing fingers, talking about, yo, that business right down there that you just came from, they scam. I don't want no smoke. You got me on camera.
money and then they wire it out.
Yeah, the money.
That man just said that Safari is actually a money wiring company, so therefore they're receiving money and then wiring it somewhere underneath the name of a transportation
So
company.
he said to go here.
Suite A right here. And then you have 617A right here, but this is reliable services, immigration, travel, and tax. I do not see a transportation company anywhere.
Morning. Hey, we're hoping to find Dreamline Transportation. You ever heard of it?
I've never heard of it. Ask next door.
He said to ask here. That you would know.
Ask next door. This is a mailbox. It's not what it's called.
So, Dreamline Transportation could be nothing more than a mailbox. 834.
Scamming so much, scamming the taxpayers' money. And that's the true victim, ladies and gentlemen. Not these Somalis getting caught. Don't feel sorry for people committing scams. Stop the cap. The true victim is the taxpayer going to their 9 to 5, trying to live an honest living, doing what's right just to find out these government officials / Somalis are scamming. Yo, shout out to Nick Shirley, ladies and gentlemen, because this has been going on for decades. Right below your nose, it be your own people. And we're the laughing stock of the world, ladies and gentlemen. Who is going to allow aliens to come into their country and scam millions among billions? And TSA, somebody had to put the finger above the mouth on TSA, because come on now, you can't even go without chewing gum without TSA. How are you smuggling millions among billions out the airport? And nobody said a word? Stop the cap.
So it could be one of these mailboxes. Well,
Okay, see you later.
607 Safari Transportation doesn't exist. It's actually a money wiring business. 617 Dreamline, inside of there, it's actually a liquor store. And then 617A is a place where there's a bunch of mailboxes and it says reliable ITT services. How are you doing, man?
I just want to ask you,
Yes, sir.
why are you sensationalizing the propaganda?
What are we
to-
sensationalizing?
To attack our community? What's your final objective?
We're
Are
not
you- are-
attacking your
are you-
community by any means.
Are you making
We're
good money
looking.
from this?
We're looking for fraud.
No, I'm
For
not.
instance, can you answer our question? Where's Safari Transportation Company 607?
One second.
It's not there.
How
And why
much-
don't you answer?
How much money are
Why don't you
you?
answer the
How much
question?
money
Where's
are you
617
making?
Dreamline Security?
How much money are you making?
I make money off
this?
of YouTube. That's how I make my money.
Exactly. So you're making money off of sensationalizing.
That my job
and attacking
is.
the Somali community.
I'm not attacking you guys. We're asking.
I'll tell you the
fraud is
reason why
fraud,
this is
sir.
happening. All right, let me
David,
tell you the reason why
fraud
you're
is
attacking
fraud,
this.
correct?
Yes.
This has nothing to do with race. This is fraud.
This
Is fraud.
absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No, it does not.
All right, and us being from.
Yo, that's some crazy work. It has nothing to do with you being Muslim. We don't care if you're green, yellow, purple, orange. Do what's right. Don't steal from the taxpayer's wallet. That's the true victim. And you want to pull up pointing fingers talking about it's a hate crime against Muslims? Yo, first of all, whoever God that you serve, I believe it's Allah. Allah did not tell you to scam. Stop the cap. Did Allah tell you to scam? I'm Pretty sure not. So now these people are trying to move the goalposts, talking about it's a hate crime against Muslims. Stop it.
From Africa. This is a constitutional argument. If you don't want us here, change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, we don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
We're not saying that.
No.
We're not saying that.
When I go
Sir,
onto
we're
your
talking
comments,
about fraud. You're talking.
When I go onto your comments,
My comments
what I
aren't
see
me.
is people that say we do not want Muslims here. Kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
This man is focused on Nick Shirley's comments. He should be focused on showing the proper documentation to clear the Somalis' name, that they're not scammers. Because right now, Somalis, they're on the hot seat. If you're a Somali man, yo, it's hard out here for a pimp.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
When you're trying to make the money for the rent.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Yo, Somalis, man, y'all getting cooked right now. So the attention should be to show the documentation that you're not scamming, actually clear your name, because men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So all the allegations, all the naysayers, the critics on Somali's head will be put to rest if you show the documentation. But you want to put up a Tibu Jay-Z to represent Somalis. I don't even know why, of all people, you chose this guy.
All of these federal programs, who's getting the federal funding. And because of the increased oversight and the auditing, one of the daycare centers are saying, hey, you know, we don't have the paperwork anymore. Take a listen.
Unfortunately, we saw that there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were ripped from our book. This is devastating news. And
What? So all the proof, all the checkbooks were stolen and ripped and stolen. Ironically. Stop it.
And we don't know why this is targeting our Somali community.
That's a comment.
You are, listen,
That's not what I'm saying.
you're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps, just like the Japanese community. All right? You're sensationalizing.
No, we're not.
All right,
Sir,
something that
answer
can
the
listen.
question. Where-
That's something
where
that can,
is the transportation
something
vehicle
that can
company?
jeopardize
Answer the question.
safety and the protection of the
This is
Somali
fraud.
community.
We're talking
if
about fraud,
anything
sir.
happens to the Somali
We're talking
community,
about fraud.
Listen, I'm not doing anything. I'm not physically touching
You're getting very close.
I'm not physically touching
very
him.
close.
No, I'm not physically touching him.
This is fraud. We're talking about fraud.
What you're defending
fraud. You're defending fraud.
Comments,
You're defending fraud.
People who hate Muslims
Okay,
want
people
us
can-
out of here.
Once again, he's reading people's comments instead of showing documentation that he's not a scammer. Misplaced energy, gaslighting, talking about hate crime against Muslims. Stop it. You're a grown-ass man pulling up to Nick Shirley. Who is Nick Shirley? I mean, shout out to Nick Shirley. He's exposing the fraud, but come on now. Instead, you need to show documentation to put to rest. So your ass about to get deported. How are you coming? Yo, you scamming and now you have outrage? How are you playing victim and you're the one scamming? Hit dogs holler. The true victim is the taxpayer, the hardworking American. To find out that he's getting finessed by Somalis? Stop it. Wearing open thong sandals, big toe and all.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
People can say what they want. I'm not censoring anybody.
Us using your material. Islamophobes use your material.
Islamophobes use your material. Do you hear the gaslighting? This man said Islamophobes. Yo, you don't need to be worried about Islamophobes. You need to be worried about showing the document, show the receipts that you're not a scammer. Actually prove, kill the allegations that you are running a daycare service, because how are you going to run a daycare service without a single child in the building? Talking about quality learning center without the letter N in learning. You can't even get the spelling right. So if you can't even get the spelling right on your own scam, ladies and gentlemen, these Somalis are not the only ones finessing the system. Obviously, it's the higher-ups involved. That's why Tim Walz resigned.
Like many Minnesotans, I have to tell you, I was glad to turn the page on 2025. It was an extraordinarily difficult year for our state, and it ended on a particularly sour note. For the last several years, an organized group of criminals have sought to take advantage of this.
Shut your bitch ass up!
who hate Islam use your material. Say to us, we don't want you here. Change the constitution. But guess what? Let me tell you something. Guess what?
Say it. We're asking about
You know,
fraud.
we're
asking about fraud.
You hate Muslims.
I'm not saying I hate Muslims. We're talking about fraud.
Muslims.
We're talking
Why
about
are you
fraud.
attacking us?
This
Are we
is
the
fraud.
only community that suffers because of fraud?
We're talking about
Are we
fraud.
the only community that does fraud? Are we the only community that does this?
This is about fraud.
All right, but there's what, 300 Somali
This is
providers in
fraud.
all of Minnesota?
There's actually 800.
Don't keep talking. Don't go
So,
you speak English?
transportation companies.
Your security doesn't even speak English. Listen, let me tell you something.
See, this isn't a race issue, sir.
Listen, let me
this
tell
is
you
about
something.
fraud.
We have, what, 1,000 providers?
Yeah, you guys have a...
Even it's 2,000 providers.
Okay,
you
sir.
want to sacrifice the safety of
Sir.
80,000 people
We're not
because of fucking 2,000 providers? Are you fucking mad? Are you stupid?
I'm not stupid, you're stupid.
You're
Where's the transportation company?
What about if a mass shooting happens in Minnesota? It will be because of you. It will be because of you. If any Somali gets hurt in Minnesota, it's because of Nick Shirley.
If any Somalis get hurt, it's because of Nick Shirley. What about the American taxpayer getting hurt by getting scams? Turning on the news, reading the newspaper, opening their platforms on social media, reading about Somalis scamming for not just years, decades, ladies and gentlemen. These people are sitting on their backside in this daycare service without a single child. All they imagine every single day you're in a establishment talking about you provide healthcare without a single client, without a single patient in the building. 15 Somali establishments under one roof talking about healthcare, but not a single patient. Only Somalis wearing thong sandals, big toe and all, in the trap house. Got the daycare service blacked out like a trap house. They trapping out in Minnesota. How did you allow this to happen? It's the government officials. That's how they allowed it to happen. Come on now. I really think millions of dollars is going to be unaccounted for it. Obviously, the government was involved. And it's getting exposed by a YouTuber. That's some crazy work. So my question is, ladies and gentlemen, how come these news broadcasters with better resources, better equipment, didn't uncover this scam? But a YouTuber with a camera is exposing the scam? How does that make sense?
This is
about fraud.
One single Somali gets hurt.
This is about fraud,
it's because
sir.
of you. Sensationalizes. You son of a bitch. Sensationalizes.
Wow, you're
Get
very
the
nice.
Out of our neighborhood.
Very nice.
Get the out of our
Sir,
neighborhood.
can you tell me where...
Yo, imagine a Somali telling a white man to get out of his neighborhood. Bro, aren't you the alien? Aren't you the front runner? And even if you was born in America, how are you going to tell a white man to get out of your neighborhood? When they comfortable in Minnesota, huh? I will never in my life go to a white man talking about get the F out of my neighborhood. Yo, they turned Minnesota to a trap house.
The transportation
Get the out of our neighborhood. We don't want you here. Get the out of here.
Calm down, sir.
Get the out of here.
Sir, this is about fraud.
Sensationalize? You wanted clicks?
You're
You got clicks.
sensationalizing yourself,
You
sir.
wanted clicks?
You're
You
sensationalizing
got
yourself.
You wanted clicks? You wanted the YouTube?
Tell me where the transportation
you
vehicle
wanted YouTube
is.
clicks? You got YouTube clicks. Now get the out of our community.
Tell me where the
Get
transportation
the out of our
vehicle is.
community.
Tell me where the...
You
This is
stupid,
about
racist
fraud.
motherfucker.
This is...
Say I don't want
This
Muslims
is about
here.
fraud.
Say I don't want Muslims here. Say it.
I'm not...
Once again, it is not about Muslims. Stop moving the goalposts. It's about fraud. It's about the millions of dollars that's going unaccounted for. Not even millions, billions. I don't know. All the fraud.
I want to change the Constitution.
No, I don't
and
want to change the
freedom of
Constitution.
religion, and I don't want Muslim Somalis in Minnesota. Kick them out. I was born in this country. You have to take the passport away from me.
Relax.
That is what you are
Sir,
arguing for.
we're not talking...
Change the
This
Constitution.
is about fraud.
Sir, appreciate it.
This man said he was born in his country. You have to take the Constitution away from me. Imagine going to the white man's talking this gibberish. Bro, what? Yo, you need to be focused about the scam, bro. All that energy needs to be fine and go through the trash cans, all the receipts, checkbooks being stolen, allegedly. Go in the trash and find those checkbooks. because all your bank accounts are frozen. You can't even leave the country. So what are you gonna do? You got to go across the whole United States. Your best bet is to go swim across the Atlantic Ocean. That's the only way you can make it out. And take a Greyhound bus.
Fuck out of our community.
This is about fraud.
Fuck out of our community. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Stupid fucking idiot.
Tell me where the transportation company is then.
Get the fuck out of here.
Obviously for this video we had to get security because look at this now. Alright, we're going.
You don't have to go from here.
But there is no transportation company in there. Fraud. There were no transportation companies.
No, none.
This isn't about race. This isn't against religion. This is about fraud. We're fighting fraud here. We're not fighting a race.
Well, and this is what happens when you put a spotlight on fraud. The people who are benefiting become extremely violent, and the Somalis are the most violent people I have ever met in my whole life.
Because he couldn't answer the question. Where was the transportation company?
He wouldn't answer the question. All he did was make it about race and then issue threats.
Neither business was there or operating, and giving a very conservative estimate based off of David's numbers and other numbers online, it's fair to say each business is operating with an average of 20 vehicles and with a much lower and generous rate of $25 per trip, and with 10 alleged trips a day, each business is pulling an estimate of $1.3 million in gross revenue, and with those 2 locations alone, there's over $2.6 million in estimated fraud. Alright, we're going to the next location.
What's interesting, Nick, is that one of the places we just visited, the 617 Cedar Avenue South, that's for Dreamline Transportation. That's the address listed with the state of Minnesota. But the place that we're going right now is going to have vans that say Dreamline Transportation on them, but they haven't moved in months and months. You'll see they're covered with snow. There will be no tire tracks. And so why are they using this address? And all that was in there was a liquor store. And he told us to talk to the guy next door, and those were all just mailboxes. And then the guy next door said, go talk to him. I said, we just talked to him. Obviously, the cover up, and you see how they all stick together, and it's all this intimidation. And thank God we had the security we did there, because that would have been bad.
Now we're outside of this transportation vehicle company right here.
Yeah, and so you can see these are the vans that say Dreamline. You can see the sticker on the window and the numbers on the rear. None of these vehicles have moved in 8 months. I've been taking date stamp photos. All these vehicles are in the exact same spot they were 8 months ago. And look, there's no tire tracks, so they haven't moved.
And this van as well, this is Dreamline. Dreamline was the location where we got chased out from the Somalis on 617 Cedar. And this is a vehicle from Dreamline that actually didn't even exist. It was a liquor store. And now it's here, and the vans haven't moved at all. Literally, no vans and no tire tracks anywhere. If these vans are being used to transport people, whether it be healthcare, childcare, there would be snow tracks. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 vehicles here. No snow tracks anywhere. These vehicles are not being used, and these transportation companies are making lots of money. Meanwhile, there's actually nothing to show for it. Here's all of the vehicles right here. And the vehicles that are coming in and out, like this Toyota, it does not have anything to do with transportation company because there's no stickers on it and there's snow tracks. But the vehicles that are supposed to be used for transportation are literally locked in. Snow is building icicles. No one's even came out to remove the snow off the window. These transportation vehicles are not moving. And then right here, David has more paperwork for Silver Mountain. And there's 3 different companies in the same address.
Yeah.
So when we talk about how all these companies are intertwined, this is a perfect example of that. And this is why these transportation companies are so essential to the fraud in Minnesota, because they allow the fraud to be supported, as the majority of the fraud is from welfare programs like daycares, autism centers, and adult daycares, and healthcare services. They need to leave a paper trail.
Hold on. They scamming, ladies and gentlemen. They taking bread away from autism. The people who really need it are not getting it because of these Somalis. But it's not just the Somalis, but it's some crazy work. How does a scammer sleep at night? There's some evil people in this world, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine taking bread from people who really need it. I mean, really need it. And you're just chilling because the bread is in your bank account. Well, that bank account is frozen. You was chilling for decades, and now you're being exposed, as you should. Let me know in the comments, should these scammers, should they be deported or should they be penalized in the United States? Because the judicial system, ladies and gentlemen, is fraud. I don't know if the courtroom will withhold justice. There was a case where someone caught a scammer. Everybody voted, the whole jury voted for this guy to be guilty, and the judge overturned it. It's super rare for a judge to overturn a ruling. When even these judge officials are in on the scam. Crazy work. Let's go back into the content.
To make it look like something is happening. Therefore, they use these transportation companies to create that paper trail by saying they're moving people from an adult daycare to a healthcare provider, for example, but they actually never provide.
To bill as much as they could to make more money regardless of whether they perform the work. I mean, that's still going on. You go to the ER and you look at the, the actual doc of what you're being charged for. You're like, yo, I never got a CAT scan. Why am I being charged $2 for a CAT scan?
The service at the healthcare provider, but that paper trail allows them to continue to bill the state for the money and everyone gets paid. That's why this fraud is so deep and hard to dismantle, because quite literally everyone is involved.
And it's all because the state of Minnesota never checks.
All right, so this is actually the location for
the state never checks. That's crazy. Meanwhile, your boss is up your ass, right? I mean, you can't even breathe outside type of shit. People are walking on pins and needles, and these Somalis are getting millions without being regulated. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, one of my occupations in the past, I used to be a lifeguard. I had to keep that pool in check, pH level, all that. I mean, every hour to the hour, I had to log. We had a log book, and I had to write the pH levels of the pool hour to the hour. No games. And what's crazy work, the pool where I was working at, nobody even came and swam in the pool. I was checking the pH level of the pool with nobody even swimming. But these Somalis can scam, get all this bread from the government, and it goes unaccounted for with no regulations, no type of policy, no type of checkup, nothing. That's some crazy work.
Silver Mountain Inc. LLC and Co. Let's see if any. Yes, we're wondering where Silver Mountain.
Silver Mountain?
Silver Mountain.
Oh, I don't know that. Where it is.
It says 2722.
So what I'm trying to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is how is these Somalis not informed of the scam? So they're just, okay, so these Somalis are just receiving the money, but they don't know what to call themselves? Like, what they think this is? It's Candyland and it's been, they just receiving the taxpayer's bread, the hardworking taxpayer trying to live an honest living, actually doing what's right to put a roof above their head, clothes on their back, food on their stomachs. You got to work hard for that. Not to make this religious, but it says in the word, if you don't work, you don't eat. You have to work. But these Somalis get to sit back with their thong sandals, big toe out, getting millions among millions off the taxpayers' back. Is some crazy work. And if you're not outraged about this, then you must be an alien.
2 Park Avenue.
All of you, get out of here.
Where is Silver Mountain here?
Silver Mountain. You don't have a permission to do that.
Okay. So
also, how is these Somalis, how are they going to play victim? You the one that's scamming.
Silver Mountain does not exist.
You were
No, the name's not Silver Mountain. It's just Silver Mountain.
Don't ask me that. When you come.
All right,
So
sir.
Silver
Well,
Mountain-
so
It's
Silver,
another way.
so
That's
Silver
the
Mountain
way
does not
to make a
exist.
business.
27,
You're making a
22
business.
Park
You have
Avenue.
millions of people watching you. You're
Silver
making
Mountain.
business to
Okay,
country
sir.
people.
27,
You have millions of people watching right
Yes.
now. Where is Silver Mountain?
I don't know
Home
where
Healthcare?
Silver Mountain is.
Okay, well that's
You don't know because they didn't inform you. They could care less. They're scamming so much in Minnesota. They're putting the scam underneath a mailbox. A mailbox is supposedly supposed to be actually establishment. When Nick Shirley, the gentleman to the right, pulls up underneath the state treasurer, it's the opposite. They're scamming out their teeth out there in Minnesota. But as we proceed in the video, it's not just Minnesota, it's the whole United States.
What we're looking for. All right, we're moving on. So Silver Mountain does not exist. David, we're just simply asking for where is Silver Mountain Home Health Care?
I can't find any of these companies. I mean, this is shocking. 3 companies are supposed to be in that building, and he's never heard of them. He doesn't know anything about them.
And look, so they don't exist there. Right there, Somali Senior Center and Adult Day Services, a daycare right there. All these welfare companies are in the same location, but their businesses, that business didn't even exist.
It's all fraud, all of it.
So right there is a transportation company, no passenger, just a driver. How come you think when it comes time to take account? They don't exist there. Right there, Somali Senior Center and Adult Day Services, a daycare right there. All these.
Yo, there's. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. These Somalis got these scams all over the city like it's a Popeye's chicken, like it's a Chick-fil-A, like it's a fast food joint. But it's actually our Chick-fil-A, our fast food is their healthcare, is their childcare, autism, all this nonsense. But it's not a single patient, not a single client in the building. What?
What? Welfare companies are in the same location, but their businesses, that business didn't even exist.
It's all fraud, all of it.
So right there is a transportation company, no passenger.
At least take the sign off the car. Be secretive. This man got the whole scam on his car without a single client in the car. So they're running errands. They're going to their local grocery stores, picking up food, using these cars for personal use off the taxpayer's back. Crazy word.
Just a driver. How come you think when it comes time to take accountability for what's happening, or just to answer simple questions about the fraud, they can't answer?
Well, I think their reaction tells you all you need to know. That the reaction is so violent that if there was no fraud going on, they would say, what are you talking about? They would have a civil conversation, but they can't because they know we're shining the light on the fraud and they have no defense. So in their mind, being loud and using profanity is their only defense.
Because I'm trying to give them the opportunity to say, where are the transportation companies? Where are the daycare? Where are the children? Where are the companies now? Yet they can't answer.
And to this point, Nick, the transportation companies we've been to, we haven't seen a single vehicle at any of them. In fact, some don't even exist. We can't even find them. We're going to the addresses that are listed on the Secretary of State's website as their business address.
This is a massive parking lot here. We're gonna go ask them where their vehicles are. They should not have any excuse as to why they don't have their vehicles.
As one video made by a specific individual.
I want to say what they...
From its website in September.
Without objection, the gentlelady from
Thank
Texas
you.
is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And to be clear, I'm not going to ask any questions of this witness because this witness has revealed that she has no intentions of answering questions. But instead, I'm going to ask some very basic questions really quickly of my colleague, Becca Ballant, if she will answer right or wrong, raping children.
Wrong.
Right or wrong, killing random citizens.
Definitely wrong.
Right or wrong, enriching yourself as the sitting president of the United States.
Definitely wrong.
Okay, thank you, because I probably never would have got that with our witness. Our witness who somehow is a lawyer but does not understand how it works with witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what all kind of cases she tried, but typically when you come into a space and somebody's a witness, then they sit there and they answer questions instead of asking questions. And then we also have this objection that we use as lawyers called non-responsive when a witness fails to actually answer the question. But nevertheless, let me address the survivors because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors. Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughing stock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ, as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country, because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massey, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going. My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on, and
Man, she's a Democrat. I was on her side. Damn. I mean, she's speaking facts. She's a Democrat, ladies and gentlemen.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Let's go back into the content.
frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission. Not only have you lied about both, you've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slotkin, just like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed. I completely don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ, because you don't seem to be good at your job. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting these journalists. In fact, we know after Georgia Fort and Don Lemon were arrested, we know that there were homes of journalists that were raided. We know that threatened prosecution against students protesting your actions and forced tech companies to remove apps used to track ISIS activities. But let's circle back to you protecting pedophiles and creeps, because I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter. So let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contains more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet.
Yo, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, she's saying a lot right now. Let it breathe.
With President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, this is a good one. Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in.
Hold on, what are you saying? Talking about you're not saying the president is a pedophile. I think you are. Hold on, can we even say that on YouTube?
These files that suggest that he's very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up.
What? Hold on. So why does she have? She could have easily had a stand of all the flashcards, but she chose people to hold it.
And this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like how the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed the investigation, or how.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to show y'all a photo, but it is not YouTube friendly. They was doing the most. I'm gonna speak in code. They had somebody dressed up like a turkey. and they was doing the unthinkable. Whoa! Like, after seeing that image, ladies and gentlemen, I just had to expose what's going on. There's a lot of stuff on this frauds going on, people doing the unthinkable to minors. And it's been going on. There ain't nothing new underneath the sun. They actually, this is a religious harvest. For some reason, they get a high on doing weird stuff behind closed doors. I'm trying to understand, like, what do you get from that? But as we know it, who runs this planet? Exactly. So that's the answer right there.
How your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history. An attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from Missouri is recognized. Excuse me, gentleman from Kansas, the Attorney General, former Attorney General, Mr. Schmidt is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and General Bondi, thanks for being here. Did you have anything you wanted to say before we talk?
I do. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, my friend, for many years. I find it interesting that she didn't even want to try, Congresswoman Crockett, to ask any questions because she certainly did not condemn her leader, Hakeem Jeffries, for taking money.
T. Cruz says, but you didn't tell us who runs the planet. Well, it's yours, but of course it's the guy with the horns. You know, that guy? Yeah. It's his show. This is his platform. So this is all this, it makes sense because how can there be so much evil on this planet? Oh, it's because this is his territory. That's why he is pushing an agenda, putting a Fruity Pebble narrative in these kids' cartoons. Now they're attacking the kids now more than ever. They're attacking the kids, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to protect them at all costs. They're putting a Fruity Pebble agenda in kids' cartoons, and you give the cartoon the benefit of the doubt. Meanwhile, they have, man, be mindful what if you have children, be mindful what your kids are watching, man. They're very even in video games.
From Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein was convicted. And I will be brief to give you your time, Congressman. This is what she didn't want to talk about. Texas, from Cuba, convicted, homicide, arson, weapon offense.
Convicted. So what we talking about? Convict Texas, some of these perpetrators homicide. That rape these women that are sitting behind you that you refuse to even acknowledge they are here.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Kansas.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a few seconds back to make up for the yelling? Thank you. General, did you have anything further to say?
Texas, convicted of homicide. Cecil Joseph from Dominican Republic. Texas, convicted for kidnapping, rape. Khalid Khan from Afghanistan. That's why they want to talk about Epstein and not what's happening in their own states.
Thank you, General, and thank you for being here. And this has been quite a spectacle to observe today. I think it's sad. I ran for Congress because I thought we had serious problems in this country we wanted to try to fix together, and this performance today, not yours, General, but some of my colleagues, has not shored up my confidence that
Joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video."
Yeah, I think allegedly, because I gotta watch my own behind, that was from Elon Musk. I think I have the receipt somewhere. Hold on. I saw Elon Musk. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. Hold on. Oh, these Epstein files are crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Thought I took a screenshot of Elon Musk. I guess I didn't. That's some crazy work. Talking about he liked the torture of what he's seen. What? That's crazy work.
What?
Only after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's.
Shout out to Dustin Odin for funding this stream. I appreciate that. Let's go back into the content. I want to thank every single one of y'all before I go back into the content. I want to thank every single one of y'all in the building. Let me know your take on the situation. I'm learning just as much as y'all. This is all new to me. You know, I've been trying to ignore this whole Epstein file situation, but it's only so much that you can ignore until eventually you're going to have to be tuned in because, ladies and gentlemen, they are doing the unthinkable. Now, with that being said, do not let this harvest your energy so much to where you cannot function in your everyday lifestyle. Easier said than done because this information is very discouraging, very disheartening. However, we cannot turn a blind eye because this is what's going on. How are we going to turn a blind eye to evil? Absolutely not. We're going to have to expose and spread some type of light. Ladies and gentlemen, people don't even know this is going on. Keeping the sweet out here. Crazy work.
Advisor Steve Bannon. Second, the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names.
Damn. I didn't even think about that yet. Absolutely, because it's one thing to be a victim, right? And I don't think they're victims. I think they're survivors because only the Most High knows what they went through. And now they have to relive that torture again. Forced to.
Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades." To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information.
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General
Twice.
Bondi,
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a
Attorney General,
specific question
Attorney General
that
can
I would
respond to your
like
question.
you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't
It is
like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she
question.
ask Merrick Garland this?
I am
Twice,
reclaiming
when he
my
sat in
time,
chair.
and when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's
I'm
reclaimed her
not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say
I'll
this.
direct it to
What a
you.
massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is
I'm not going to get
interrupting.
in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing
and
theatrics.
let me have my
The
time.
gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy,
The time
Todd
of
Blanche,
the-
met alone
time of the
with
gentlelady
Ghislaine
has- the
Maxwell
time of the
and
gentlelady has
transferred
expired.
her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue
The
the
time of the
cover-up. And
gentlelady
I
has
wish
expired.
that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level
Chairman,
apologize
The chair now
to
recognizes the chair.
them on what you have done.
Time of the
I
gentlelady's
yield
expired.
back.
The gentlelady, you have no time to.
Trump Epstein files. Have a nice ring to it. Why not put his name on the outside of the files, too? I mentioned last night that Congressman Jamie Raskin got to review the unredacted files. He found that the president's name, he searched it, appeared more than 1 million times. And that doesn't even include the 3 million pages they still haven't released, which obviously puts MAGA in a bit of a fix. Popping up 1 million times isn't a positive for the Pizzagate party. And so now they're grabbing at anything they can, including a document that says when the authorities were finally closing in on Jeffrey Epstein back in 2006, Trump called the Palm Beach police chief and said, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." That's right. And none of us said a word. And that's the evidence they want people to see right now. Trump also told the cops that Ghislaine Maxwell was evil, which is interesting because his guy in the DOJ moved her to a country club prison, and fewer than 5 years ago, he himself said, "I wish her well." But it's all just something to keep in mind when he mysteriously pardons her next month. Today, it was Attorney General Pam Bondi's turn in the hot seat. And this woman, she's something. This is the kind of woman who, if you lived next door to her, you'd move. You wouldn't even argue with her. You wouldn't you'd just relocate and never go back to the block. Pam Bondi, who famously said back in February of last year that she had Epstein's client list sitting on her desk, somehow that list disappeared because those names are now redacted, and this hearing has been on the books for weeks. But the stakes were especially high for Pam because there are reports that Trump was complaining about her for not doing enough to punish his enemies or administer his enemas. So Pam Bondi, with the Trump Epstein files front and center now, had to butter that biscuit as bigly as she could.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year. The majority of the American people wanted Donald Trump because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. Have you apologized to President Trump? He is the most transparent president in the nation's history.
That's right. He's so transparent, you had to black out his name like 1,000 times. But Pam was so offended by the line of questioning, she got confused. I think she forgot what branch of government she serves.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost...
Ladies and gentlemen, Let's keep it a stack. Let me know in the comment section who was the best president that you witnessed in your lifetime. I'm not speaking of all time, but while you was alive. Because we had Bush. Bush messed up everything, both of them, the father and the son. So, I mean, he lied about you know what just to go overseas and get the oil. Bush messed up everything. Keep it up. I mean, he messed up everything. Would you say Clinton, the first quotation mark, allegedly the first black president? The economy was booming. Would you say Reagan? Would you say Obama? What about Sleepy Joe? Absolutely. He's probably the worst of all time.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
You're going to have to give it to Trump. You're going to have to. At least in our generation, in our lifetime. Now, if it's true of what he's being accused of, Lord have mercy. How is that going to work out? Like, that's like breaking the matrix. Like, this freaky ass dude does know how to turn $1 out of 15 cents. We got this freaky dude running the country, right? He's running the economy and he's turning the economy better than how it was because he's the only president to actually do something. Because everybody else, they talk a good talk. Oh yeah, it sounds good. It sounds good, but they don't really enforce. They don't really implement on what they talking about. They talking about vote for me and I'll do this, that, and the third. When they're in office, they're sitting back in the reclining chair. As we know it, ladies and gentlemen, Congress, they have more vacation days than actual them working. So as much allegations, as much Trump is on the ropes, he still is the best president of our generation. Crazy work. Would you rather have Sleepy Joe or would you better yet have Kamala Harris? Did y'all really vote for Kamala Harris? Y'all really did? Y'all went to the voting polls and y'all selected Kamala Harris. That's some crazy word. Kamala, whatever. She had Megan Thee Stallion twerking on stage. Like, that's insult. You trying to win people over to vote for you by having Megan Thee Stallion twerk on stage? Yo, Megan Thee Stallion is not the spokesman for blacks. Stop the cap.
7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks.
Hold on, something caught my eye in the chat. What my old name said, Trump fulfilled prophecy Ezekiel. No, okay, I need to read that. I'm not familiar with the prophecy of Ezekiel. Definitely going to look into that.
And retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about.
That's right. You're all so caught up with pedophilia, you're not even thinking about your IRAs. That, by the way, did nothing to dissuade the Democrats from hammering her, none more politely than North Carolina Congresswoman Deborah Ross.
You know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska.
I have a couple
who
of
died
other
on a subway.
Right, and I absolutely...
You don't talk about that.
I have been talking about it and actually helping with these issues. But we're going to move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is. So, of course, we're moving back to you. It is all about you.
Did she think she was invited to a mixer? I don't know. It's like speaking to a teenage girl. She keeps talking like that. Epstein's going to come back from the dead and ask for a massage. That went on for almost 5 hours. She's shouting like a crazed dance mom berating Democrats for giving her chubby daughter a low score.
You're the Attorney General of the United States.
You're
The rules.
obsessed with Donald Trump. You have Trump derangement syndrome. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, you don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
I'm
if they're
talking.
not privileged,
Quiet.
Don't yell at me.
I'll reclaim my time. This wasn't a trick question.
You don't get to
Attorney
reclaim
General.
your time. Do you want me to answer or do you want to interrupt? Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you. The witness is interrupted.
I'm not going to get in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time.
doing theatrics. It's embarrassing. He's a hypocrite. This is so ridiculous. Shame. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
You're talking about public corruption to me? Whoa. This isn't a circus. This is a hearing.
This is not a game, Secretary.
I'm Attorney General.
My apologies, I couldn't tell.
C-SPAN suddenly turned into C-SNAP. And it wasn't just Democrats she mud wrestled. She got into it pretty good with Thomas Massie, the Republican co-sponsor of the bill that got the files released in the first place.
It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question. It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back. Within 40.
Brendan, sorry for butchering your name, says what prophecy? The prophecy of Ezekiel. I'm going to look into that. Someone in the chat said that Trump is fulfilling the prophecy. Talia, I believe her name is. She said Trump and all like him are fulfilling the prophecy. Let me go to the actual comment if I can find it. Ezekiel's not written about Trump. Okay, so somebody knows about Ezekiel.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Yo, people in the chat, put accurate information. Don't be putting false information on this platform. We're going to spread awareness, not lies. We're going to keep it honest, straight down the middle, not picking sides. It's calling a spade a spade.
30 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Red-handed. There was one redaction.
Regardless, I'm still going to read for myself and do my own research on Ezekiel. I'm not just going to believe someone and just go by as if that's law. And that goes with just anybody, any content creator, any person. If you retain information from that certain individual, don't just go about it as if that is law. No. Go do your own research and see if that is the truth for yourself, including myself, including this platform. And just in general, ladies and gentlemen, how many times on social media are there 20, 30-second clips and people take that clip out of context? Go watch the whole video, not just a 20, 30-second clip, and determine for yourself, not just from something you saw on TikTok. Stop the cap.
He's listed as a co-conspirator.
And we invited you in.
Gentlemen.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Yes. The ultra-conservative congressman from Kentucky who endorsed Donald Trump 3 times has Trump derangement syndrome. Trump himself, the man who tweeted the Obamas as monkeys the other day, solid as a rock. Everyone else is deranged. I mean, seriously.
I can't play that cartoon anymore. That is copyright. Disney copyrighted me. So we're going to move on past that crazy cartoon that Trump reposted on his social media. He reposted The Lion King, allegedly, and the Barack Obamas was on top of apes. So it just, he's backdoor saying he didn't see that part of the video. Do y'all believe that?
This is simple. There's nothing to defend here. This Department of Justice is hiding the names of people who are not victims. Why are they doing that? If they have nothing to hide, why are they hiding names? That's it. That's the only question anybody needs to ask. It's like, it's mad.
Now, he did say, ladies and gentlemen, that he originally saw the video, and the video that he reposted on his social media was about fraud. So anytime he sees fraud, he's going to repost it. So I do understand that, but to not watch the whole length of the video is extremely careless. You're the president. Everything you do is going to be magnified. especially Barack Obama on top of an ape. Now, I wish that video would have had Barack Obama dressed up as a snake. Would have got your point across. But Joe Biden, he was a chimpanzee or some type of monkey, and he was doing the unthinkable to a banana. Pause.
It's like you know what it is? It's like a conversation you have with a 5-year-old kid. What are you hiding?
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what I've been saying lately? This comment right here. Talking about since when was gorillas in the Lion King? You know what's crazy work, Joester? Is that there was a chimpanzee or some type of monkey in the Lion King. There wasn't a gorilla, but there was monkeys. There was monkeys. So we got to stop moving the goalpost saying, oh, there was no monkeys in the Lion King or there was no gorillas. Come on now. There was a whole, I mean, what's his name? The monkey? He was carrying that staff. I think his name was, y'all let me know in the chat the name of that monkey. I can't think of it on top of the dome. But there was a whole monkey in the Lion King. Stop the cap.
Nothing. Why are your hands behind your back? Is that a lollipop? You have a lot? No. We know you have a lollipop. Give us the lollipop. That's what this is. It is a brazen cover-up.
You're saying even what you're looking at that is supposed to be unredacted.
Real fast, I'm gonna address this comment. Where are we at? The reason why is because you're doing what's right, and what's right is going to be magnified because of this world that is ruled by you know who. If you go against the grain, of course, you're going to face resistance. So that is why. That's his name, the monkey?
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's his name, bro. I can't even pronounce that. I'm gonna have to hear it for myself. Rafiki? Yo, I'm butchering this baboon name in the Lion King. That's crazy.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Crazy word.
It is still redacted, right?
Correct. Sometimes you remove the black redaction and you see a white redaction. And sometimes you try to remove.
Oh, yes. 737 for sure. I mean, who runs this planet? So that's your answer right there. Anything that you do that is right, especially in a world full of darkness. I mean, this world is demonic. People do the unthinkable. Like, it's one thing to, you know, do civilized crimes, right? But these Epstein files are surpassed crimes, like these everyday crimes that we're accustomed to seeing, witnessing. These people are doing the unthinkable. I can't even upload what I've seen, ladies and gentlemen. And these people have a soul. They're able to sleep at night. Crazy work.
Remove the black redaction, and it's all completely redacted still.
Even their redactions are racist.
All right, someone is helping me in the chat. Rafiki. That's his name, the baboon in the Lion King.
Trying to laugh with the bros.
Yo, I'm gonna have to go back and hear his name for myself because I'm still butchering his name. Crazy word.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Without Thomas Massey, that guy, we might not ever have seen these files. Not too many Republicans are on board with this, but there are some cracks starting to form in the MAGA coalition. Trump himself never gets any of the blame for it. But today, even the reliably crazy Nancy Mace said she's lost all faith in the Justice Department. And Lauren Boebert from Colorado doesn't seem to be having it either.
Do you support any clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell? She was saying that she
I do not.
Okay.
I think Ghislaine Maxwell should get more time, and she should definitely be in a harsher prison than what she's in. It's absolutely disgusting.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm late to give my boyfriend a squeezer at Beetlejuice. It would appear that Team Trump is losing support from the cherished MAGA Bratz doll collection.
Do I believe that this administration is going to provide justice for anything in the Epstein files? No, absolutely not, because the president told me that his friends would get hurt. So I have that to go on, and that was the president's words directly to me.
She's been hit on the head so many times, she's starting to make sense. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene, she is in a weird period right now. She's in the after quitting Congress, before being revealed as the Masked Singer period of her life. But most of them are standing by their man, and none more so than the always exasperated Greg Kelly of Newsmax.
This whole thing with the Epstein files, President Trump is right. It is a hoax.
If you say it emphatically enough, it becomes true. It is a hoax. If that's true, you have to hand it to the Democrats. They pulled off one hell of a hoax. They went all the way back to 2004, before he was on The Apprentice, to plant the seeds of 1 million mentions in what we now call the Trump Epstein files. And if you don't believe it's a hoax, well, perhaps you'll change that thought when you feast your eyes on this.
New Brazilian just arrived. Sexy and cute. 9-year-old.
What? Yo. Nine years old. Not even double digits. She's 9. She didn't ask for this, ladies and gentlemen, but yet you have people that can control their situation, actually have freedom, actually are not being transported, and they want to complain because their feet hurt after 9 to 5. You put stuff into context, ladies and gentlemen. If you're able to be free, and if you have a roof above your head, and for the most part you're safe, then you're blessed. Man, some people, you're not even 10 yet, and you're getting transported talking about new Brazilian just arrived. They got this documented. That's some crazy work.
Right? But have you ever copied and pasted something from an email and put it into your phone, or vice versa, and sometimes it gets all weird? That's what happened here.
Hold on, I saw something in the chat, caught my eye. Liam, I believe your name, or Liam, I believe it's Liam. Sorry for butchering your name. You said you didn't even get to the cannibalism yet. Yeah, I can't go to that part for sure. That is not YouTube friendly. But that's how bad it gets there. Can I even say that on the internet, ladies and gentlemen?
Because the actual email reads as follows. New Brazilian just arrived, sexy and cute, 19 years old. All right? It's a 19-year-old. I mean, 19's pretty young, but it is legal.
Sure, importing teenagers from other countries for sex, nothing illegal about that. Come on.
Man, what are we listening to, ladies and gentlemen? Like, how much evidence do you need to actually prosecute these people from doing who knows what behind closed doors? Like, they talking about it, but let's see action. Like, let's actually persecute these demonic entities walking this earth, doing the unthinkable to these young minors.
That's not even 2 crimes. It's only 1. That's part of Greg's new nightly segment, Pedo or Typo, that I think you'll enjoy. And while our Justice Department here in the United States might not be looking into any of our elected officials who are named in this mess, in Europe, it's a very different story in Europe. Many government officials have resigned after their ties to Epstein have been revealed, including an ambassador from Norway, national security advisor from Slovakia, the former culture minister of France, the former British ambassador to the United States, British Prime Minister's chief of staff resigned, for advising the prime minister to appoint that ambassador. Keir Starmer, the British prime minister himself, might be forced to resign. And Prince Andrew is now just a homeless guy named Andy as a result of the Trump-Epstein files, which...
Degree in criminal justice and a minor in psychology, and I am currently in the process of getting my certification in paralegal studies. I have been reading and taking notes on the release of the new Epstein files, so you do not have to. I have begun my research with Mr. Trump. Now, he did tell a reporter today...
Now that nothing came out about me...
Wrong. I would like to start off by saying I do think it's a little weird that my notes are dated 1/31, and I have that the Trump name appears in the files 5,333 times, but when I went to go check today, February 4th, it only says 4,820 times. When you first search his name, one of the first 10 data sets that you see, I have to stand on this side to cover some of the words because I'm afraid that TikTok will take this down, but I will just read word for word what it says. Now, they are just stated as victim number 1 or Jane Doe. Jane Doe saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. Trump would then auction her. Donald Trump, he then measured the children's and by entering a finger now.
Whoa, hold on.
The other guests there included Elon, Alan Dershowitz, Bob Musk, Don Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump. Now, a lot of the other files on there is just random news clippings, random emails, which I'll get into later, and then it goes into one of the first big court cases, Epstein and Trump versus Katie Johnson, who, keep in mind, was a 13-year-old child. And I emphasize, child. Now, people will say that the case was dismissed, but the case was first dismissed because the prosecutor filed it under the wrong form number. So it had to get dismissed by the judge, and then they restarted it a couple weeks later. Okay, let's preface that before anyone says anything else. I moved to the side so you can pause and read more if you would like to, but the first allegation is that Donald Trump engaged in depraved acts with the 13-year-old. The second one is that he made her a... The third one is that both Epstein and Trump tied her up and raped her, a 13-year-old. And the fourth one, because I'm not going to read any more after that, is that they took her to a lot of parties for children and auctioned her. That is one of the many court cases that Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein were involved in, not including with other children. Now, that was in 2016. Let's jump it all the way back to 2004. So 14 years prior to this, they already started a friendship, as much as he would like to deny that he did not know him. So in 2004, Trump often visited Epstein in his Palm Beach house. Now, this has already been confirmed in the depositions of Epstein's houseman. He bought the house for $41 million from Trump at Palm Beach. Now, that did not turn out so well because they got into a big catfight. Trump said in a New York Magazine interview that in 2002, he had already been friends with Epstein for 15 years, so they have now been friends for 17 years at this time. So, at the time of 2004, Trump would often visit Epstein in his Palm Beach house, which was confirmed in depositions of Epstein's houseman. Now, in Palm Beach, Epstein wanted to buy a house for $41 million. Now, when Trump said in an interview in 2002 with New York Magazine that he had already been friends with Epstein for 15 years. So now in 2004, they had already been friends for 17 years. In 2004, Trump would often visit Epstein in his Palm Beach house. This was confirmed in the depositions of Epstein's houseman. So Epstein wanted to buy a house for $41 million in Palm Beach from Trump. Trump ended up slipping in at the very last minute and buying it for $55 million. Then they said they got into an intensive scrutiny over paperwork, so they ended up selling the house for $125 million. And this was all said in an email by Michael Wolff, who was an American journalist at the time. And here's the paragraph with all the information. You can look up Michael Wolff right here. He is currently being sued, selling the house for $125 million. And this was all said in an email by Michael Wolff, who was an American journalist at the time. And here's the paragraph with all the information.
Let me see if I can read this for y'all, ladies and gentlemen. In November 2004, for instance, Jeffrey Epstein, the financial later caught in a scandal involving underage PROS. Agreed to buy out a bankruptcy a house of Palm Beach, Florida, for $36 million, a house that had been on the market for 2 years. Epstein and Trump have been close friends, playboys in arms as it were, for more than a decade, with Trump always, can't read that part, and Epstein would provide some of his financial expertise to, I think that's enable. I can't read that. That seems like that's not enable. Ladies and gentlemen, take a screenshot of that and zoom in. I'm going to do that once this stream is over. Back into the content. This is some crazy work.
You can look up Michael Wolff right here. He is currently being sued by the Trump administration for leaking a lot of emails. Also, he was co-conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to take down Donald Trump. Now, if you go back into the files and you just type in this email, which is one of Jeffrey Epstein's personal email accounts, one of them, you can see all of this 650,000 emails. I have already started to create a list of all of the different names that I see in the emails. I will go into them later.
You think Epstein was the scandal? That was the bait. Real architects sit on thrones, wear robes, and drink wine while feeding on children's souls in Vatican crypts. Look, let's name what they won't. The 13 bloodlines that run the world aren't who you think. Orsini, Aldo Brandini, Pallavicini, Medici, Breakspear, Farnese, Rothschild, Rockefeller, Warburg, Hanover, Lee, Bruce, Habsburg. These are not old money. They are Baalic parasitic bloodlines. Ritual sorcerers who hijacked empires and installed mind control systems under the illusion of religion, politics, and finance. Where's their origin point? Venice. The Black Venetian nobility ran Babylonian blood cults under Catholic masks. They merged with the Vatican, embedded into the Jesuit priesthood, and exported global slavery through maritime law, trapping you in birth certificates, taxes, and silent contracts with no consent. Venice wasn't a city of romance. It's a sacrificial basin. Why do you think the Pope wears a fish hat? That's not Christian. That's Dagon, a Nephilim water demon. Look, Epstein wasn't a financier. He was a human trafficker for the priest class. He ran blackmail rituals for the elite, orgies timed to celestial gates, using children pre-programmed through MK Ultra satellite nodes. Who funded him? Rothschild-backed banks. He admitted this. Mossad and CIA intelligence mergers. Chabad Lubavitch financiers masked as philanthropists. Why is Ghislaine Maxwell still alive? Because her father, Robert Maxwell, was a triple agent field operator for the Vatican Chabad MI6 axis. Epstein's Island's temple is a mirror replica of Baal's altars in ancient Tyre. Literally, the owl statues, not for aesthetics, they're invitation gates for entities. Comment, scroll, and I'll send you the full decoded map. Families, cults, islands, bloodlines, oaths, nothing hidden, everything unveiled. Think about it. Why do the Masons care more about rituals than politics? Because politics was just a front. The true power is ritualized trauma. Here's exactly how they move. Jesuits equal infiltration and education. They wrote your textbook, scripted your news, and flipped your morals through semantic inversion. Freemasons equal gatekeeping plus maintenance grid. Lodges are ritual fields, not clubs. The checkerboard floor, it's a dimensional binding grid. Chabad Lubavitch equals economic controllers of AI, neuroscience, and cloning. They bankroll the puppet governments, own biometric patents, and sit on quantum computing boards. All three serve the Black Sun priesthood. Shadow Vatican that answers to no government, no court, no god you were taught about. They install presidents, they run wars for soul harvest, and they script pandemics not just for population control, but for ritual sacrifice and initiation of mass trauma loops. Look, everything you were taught was a ritual veil. They fed on your doubt. They survived by your silence. But you're the anomaly. You remember. Comment, scroll below.
Minnesota. So we think it's at least $19 billion of fraud, medical, every fraud. Somalia has come in here. What they've done to our country, these people, they've come into our country, and what they've done with that fake congresswoman, she's so bad. No, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We have the best people maybe in the whole country looking at that. We're looking at California too, because California is worse. But, if we find 50%, look, they've been robbing and ripping off this country for many years, for decades, right? If we find 50% of what's happened, we have a balanced budget without cutting anybody. We have a balanced budget. And we'll find it. Minnesota is very corrupt. California is very corrupt. A lot of states are very corrupt. Take a look at Minnesota. So we think it's at least 19.
So there's Trump. He's talking about it. They're saying it's at least $19 billion.
David, what do you think the actual real estimate is?
So I believe that when the dust
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. That's some crazy work.
To look at Minnesota. So we think it's at least $19 billion of fraud, medical, every fraud. Somalia has come in here. What they've done to our country, these people, they've come into our country, and what they've done with that fake congresswoman, she's so bad. No, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We have the best people maybe in the whole country looking at that. We're looking at California too, because California is worse. But, if we find 50%, look, they've been robbing and ripping off this country for many years, for decades, right? If we find 50% of what's happened, we have a balanced budget without cutting anybody. We have a balanced budget. And we'll find that Minnesota is very corrupt. California is very corrupt. A lot of states are very corrupt. Take a look at Minnesota. So we think it's at least 19.
they tested it out and then they expanded it out, not only nationally, but internationally. And now we're seeing the pushback from people who are saying, wait a minute, I've seen these daycares, I've seen this transportation fraud, that they've seen it with their own eyes. And now people are starting to go out there and do their own investigation. And we see the violent reaction from these fraudsters once they're exposed, because obviously they've been living the high life without working. And here you have people who get up and go to work every day. They work hard, they're honest, they're hardworking, they're raising their family. And these people are spitting in their faces and laughing at them because they're getting millions of dollars without doing a single thing. And it's all because these politicians allowed it to happen.
And what's funny is we know these politicians have enabled it to happen because after months of this news coverage, they have literally came on TV and said, the fraud's very real. Mayor Fry said that on live TV. Tim Walz has said, this fraud thing happens in all 50 states. Like, they just openly admit to the fraud on television. They're acting like it's just something that we should have to deal with as tax-paying citizens, that we should have to deal with.
Absolutely not. We should not have to deal with Somalis scamming the taxpayers' money. The hard working back of the taxpayers should not be finessed by Somalis or anybody, not just Somalis. That is very disheartening to know that you are working a 9 to 5 doing what's right, to come and find out people are scamming your taxes. So you go to work to make a living, busting your ass, busting your tail, day in and day out, while somebody else is benefiting off your hard work. Oh no, absolutely not.
A portion of our taxes going towards the fraud, and when in reality they know about the fraud and they're the ones who are controlling and enabling that fraud to happen. And by no means is that right for them to just say, yeah, we know fraud's happening, this fraud thing, when in reality they could be the ones cracking down on it.
Well, not only that, but every time a fraud was committed, so every time a fraudulent payment was issued or a fraudulent payment was accepted, we have millions of such cases. Every one of those is a felony. And the people of America are tired of these people getting away with this fraud and just saying, okay, my bad. Yeah, there was fraud, and go on to the next thing. They want people to be arrested, handcuffed, brought in front of a judge, and put in prison for what they've done. Prison.
And so far, from what you've seen and what you've heard, do you think any of them will be put in prison?
I'm hopeful, but when I help a guy here in Minneapolis get convicted of $7.2 million of fraud, a unanimous jury verdict finding him guilty, and the judge, Sarah West, overturns the verdict, and that guy's out walking free now and still collecting money from the government, I have to collect myself and say, look, justice and truth are going to win out, because that is such a punch in the gut when a judge does that. But I have to believe that at the end of the day, we're going to be successful in what we're doing, which is exposing the fraud and getting people sent to prison.
Yeah, I think people need to know about this, because a lot of people.
Absolutely. People, ladies and gentlemen, in the modern day, they don't know what scam fraud is going on. We have to expose what's going on in our own country, ladies and gentlemen. The world is laughing at the United States.
About that, what you just talked about, the guy who got charged for $7.2 million. And then the jury found him guilty, but then somebody came in last minute and reversed it. He was literally found guilty. And
the what? Somebody was found guilty, but the judge overturned the ruling when the jury had him guilty. So now the judge is in on a scam.
Let's actually watch this. It's about 3 minutes. It shows this, let's see. Here it is. It shows what actually happened with this verdict, because it actually is crazy that they found this guy guilty of $7.2 million and they let him walk free.
A big reversal in a $7.2 million fraud case in Hennepin County. The judge has thrown out the jury's guilty verdict. This is a case Lou Raguse has been following since the beginning. The judge's actions could make it harder to prosecute state fraud cases in the future. Lou?
Julie, it's extremely rare for a judge to reverse a jury's verdict in a criminal case. Jurors I spoke to today told me it was not a difficult decision to find Abdi Fattah Youssef guilty in a Medicaid billing scheme, and they're surprised by this development. At the August trial for Abdi Fattah Youssef, the jury heard evidence that he ran his home health care company, Promise Health, out of a mailbox at a Central Avenue address where multiple other home health care companies were supposedly located. Youssef and his wife, Lol Ahmed, were charged with stealing $7.2 million of taxpayer money through Medicaid overbilling in a personal care assistant, or PCA, scam. The couple allegedly spent tens of thousands of the fraud money on luxury items for themselves.
Michael Kors. Yo, these Somalis were living good. Yo, it's the 12th of that. Yo, people still haven't paid their rent, ladies and gentlemen. People still trying to make a payment plan to pay their rent. Meanwhile, these Somalis are getting bands among bands wearing Michael Kors designer. That's nasty, bro. And finally, it's getting exposed. A lot of stuff is getting exposed, and that's why I'm making this content, ladies and gentlemen. No soy dominicano, pero ya tú sabes. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. If you are in the building, hit the like button. And how you hit the like button is to double tap the screen. I want to thank every single one of y'all in the building. Also, subscribe to this platform. Hit the bell notification so you will be notified when I do go live. Let's go back into the content.
Despite the jury swiftly convicting Youssef, Judge Sarah West last week decided they got it wrong.
It's reversing or overturning a jury's verdict.
Defense attorney Joe Tamburino, who's not affiliated with this case, reviewed the decision and analyzed it for KARE 11 News. He says Judge West ruled that the state's case relied heavily on circumstantial evidence and that she believed the state did not rule out other reasonable
Ladies and gentlemen, so the judge overturned the ruling from the jury. Stop the cap.
Differences.
That in fact, there could have been other reasonable theories other than guilt in this case. That's what it comes down to.
Despite the ruling, even Judge West wrote that she is troubled by the manner in which fraud was able to be perpetuated at Promise Health.
I was stunned.
State Representative Kristen Robbins
Something caught my eye in the comment section. Dennis Val 421 says, "Why be a bank robber when it's easier to rob when you become a politician?" Yeah, they're definitely robbing right below our noses, ladies and gentlemen. And who's the victim? Not them. It's the taxpayer. That's the true victim of the situation. Not the Somalis being caught. Don't feel no sorrow for these Somalis scamming. The victim is the taxpayer. Crazy work.
Chair of the House Fraud Prevention and State Oversight Committee, says she's now reviewing if any state laws need to be tightened.
We want to strengthen state law so that we can get prosecutions out of these cases, because clearly a jury thought.
Let me know in the comment section, should these scammers be deported or should they be held by our justice system, persecuted in the court of law? Because as you just heard, a whole jury had somebody guilty of fraud and the judge overturned the ruling. What?
He was guilty.
Jurors in the case can't believe the decision.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked based off of all of the evidence that was presented to us and the obvious guilt that we saw based off of the said evidence. It was not a difficult decision whatsoever. The deliberation took probably 4 hours at most. Based off of the state's evidence that was presented, I was beyond a reasonable doubt.
The attorney for Mr. Youssef, Ian Burrell, sent me a statement today that says, in part, Judge West's ruling affirms what we have maintained from the beginning, that our client, Mr. Youssef, was wrongfully accused and did not commit fraud or racketeering. The Attorney General's office filed an appeal this afternoon, so the Minnesota Court of Appeals will take a second look at this decision. Julie.
So, Lou, did Mr. Tamburino, did he have any kind of emotional reaction? And this is pretty stunning. This does not happen.
Yeah, he leaned towards the idea that this was kind of a one-off and that it would have a good chance at appeal. But the worry is that there's so many other cases just like it where somebody's in the exact same position as Mr. Youssef, but is charged with fraud. And if the judge can determine that maybe they didn't know that the fraud was going on underneath them in the case, then other judges could throw it out just like this one.
All right. Do you know how quickly
So there you have it right there. Man who's found guilty by jury just got overturned. $7.2 million. And how many more cases like that do you think are in Minnesota where there's one individual who's been caught for $3 million, $1 million of fraud?
Well, I think there are a lot of cases that are being worked on right now, and that is such a disgusting reversal by Judge West. And that's what goes back to what I'm saying, that the heart of this fraud is here in Minneapolis, that a guy can get off a unanimous jury verdict. I helped put that guy behind bars. That was my work to find that was a fraudulent healthcare company. And I said, it's a mailbox. There's nothing here but a mailbox. And I had to keep sounding the alarm. So finally something got done. It was so egregious and so bad. But there are hundreds of those same companies out there that we've been exposing. Look at the transportation companies, Nick. We couldn't even find one.
Other than if they are out driving right now. And what's the story behind this business?
Well, this business is new as of March of 2024. It's Muhammad Malim is the registered agent for 713 Minnehaha Avenue East.
Me and David headed into this building, however, the owner was not there. We're here at the suite of Epimonia Transport LLC. There's actually not even a sign here. And anyone here, it looks like there's a guy over here. Let's see if we can talk to him really quick. Do you know about Epimonia Transport here?
So there was a transportation company here in 305 for a long time, even before I joined the building a few years ago. He's never really here. I've seen the office a couple times. There's barely anything in there but a couch. And then I see him maybe twice a month at so.
And there's no transport vehicles outside. Massive parking lot, but no transport.
I've never seen one. I've been here for 3 years and I'm always here. I'm a workaholic. I'm just nonstop here. So I know everybody in the building, and this specific space here is probably the most sketchy out of any other business here. Everyone else is here. They're friendlier. He just pops in and out.
And for instance, this guy, Muhammad, he should have his business in 308. There should be transportation vehicles outside. There's nothing.
That's weird that you say 308 because he's always been in 305 for the last 3 years.
Wow, so he's even lying on his public records with the government.
I would assume if he was to make and doing fraud, it makes sense to switch it up and throw people off track. It would be the first thing somebody would do, I would think.
So since the fraud has started to be exposed, Muhammad has left the scene, and that guy just said, he confirmed that there was never even been transportation vehicles outside.
So these Somalis are running a scam, a transportation business without a single vehicle in the parking lot. That's like trying to be any type of profession without the proper tools or going to college to get the proper knowledge to do that job at hand. These Somalis are so carefree. They're committing these scams without even making it believable. Running a whole transportation car service without a single vehicle in the parking lot. But they're receiving all this bread from the government, right? All these checks that's going unaccounted for. No type of policy, no type of regulation, no checkup to see what's going on to continue to receive the funds. Why would they have any guidelines or policy regulations if they're the ones also involved in the scam?
So Muhammad has completely left the scene. He's nowhere to be found, and this parking lot, massive parking lot, actually never even had any transport vehicles according to the guy who lived or had his office next to Muhammad. How quick do you think the fraud would dry out here in Minnesota if they were to cut out the transportation side of the fraud?
I think it would have a massive effect, and that the signal that would send would let people know the party's over.
Because if me and you were to go to the doctor, we either have to find a family member, drive ourselves, or pay for an Uber. How come they even have this set up?
Yeah, I tried to arrange a ride with one of these Somali transportation companies. They said they were all full. So now
I be trying to laugh with the bro.
This man David, the gentleman to the right, said he tried to request a ride from these Somalis, and the response was, they're all full, they're booked up. Oh yeah, you booked up, all right. Your bank account is frozen.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Yo, your bank account is frozen. Yo, that's some nasty work. If your bank account is frozen, how are you able to move? But can we have any type of sympathy? Nobody told them to scam. If you're blessed enough to be in America, take advantage of being on this continent. Because in third world countries, people risk their lives to come to U.S. soil. But yet you got people that are privileged enough to somehow be here, stealing the taxpayers' money? Absolutely not.
we're at 2833 13th Avenue South in Minneapolis, and there's supposed to be a non-emergency medical transportation company here called Advance Mobility Incorporated. And what's interesting about this company is that state records show that it first registered with the state of Minnesota in 1999.
And they have been in business for over 26 years.
Yes.
Scamming since 1999. That's crazy work. But yet they put a dollar store version of Jay-Z talking about their paperwork to prove their innocence was stolen.
Unfortunately, we saw that there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were ripped from our book.
Of course it was. Of course the checkbooks to show the proper documentation was ripped and stolen, right?
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
This is devastating news, and we don't know why this is targeting our Somali community, as one video made by a specific individual made this all happen.
So I want to say one thing. I don't understand why they have to turn it around and say, why are you targeting this Somali community. That's not what they're doing. They're targeting this Leering Center because of the massive fraud and abuse that has been uncovered. And again, not just a part of this, some of these daycare centers, but much broader throughout the entire state.
What one was a mailbox, the other one's a liquor store. I mean, what is that? Right? It's exactly the same fraud. And so we have to make sure that these people are prosecuted and that they're put in prison. And so Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, he filed an appeal. Hey, Keith Ellison is a proponent of the fraud. He was in on this on the ground level. We have that recording where he was meeting with the fraudsters saying, if you need any help, contact my office directly.
And what's Keith Ellison's involvement with all this?
So Keith Ellison.
And explain to people who he is.
Keith Ellison is originally from Detroit. He's not from Minnesota. He's the Attorney General of Minnesota. There's a recording of him meeting with people who were involved in the fraud. And he told them on that recording, look, if you need assistance, if you need help, reach out to my office directly. So he's the one who's going to appeal a fraud conviction. He's going to do the appeal. What do you think's going to happen? He's going to find a way to screw up the appeal. That guy's going to walk free, and they're never going to recover a penny of that $7.2 million. It's sad. It's shameful. It's shocking. It's disgusting.
Here, I have the audio right here. I'm working quick on trying to get all the info for everybody. Let's see.
Defendants accountable. He says this audio.
Let's just go fight these people.
Proves otherwise.
Wouldn't it be easier to just say?
Duck's computer. Actually, that wasn't it. But yeah, he has. There's proof of him being on audio. There's all this proof right here. Facing scrutiny right here. But I'll try to find another clip of that. But yeah, so it seems like between Ilhan Omar, Tim Waltz, Keith Ellison, it's all just been coordinated as far as enabling this fraud to happen. And one thing that me and you talked about a lot was something that most people didn't even really know about was the interpreter services and how the transportation companies are all working in on this. And how did you learn about the interpreter services and the transportation companies, David?
So I started to see these transportation vans, and it was always a Dodge Caravan driving around. And it was always a Somali driver, and they'd have a company name on the side, and then like a number on the back, like 14 or 28 or 65. But there was never a passenger in any of the vehicles. I said, well, you don't have your phone number on there? I mean, it was just so odd. And it was always a Somali driver. So I started following some of them. And all they ever went to was Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, loaded up a grocery cart, filled it up, and went back home. They never transported anybody to a clinic, to a doctor's appointment, to an autism center. They never did any of that. And I said, well, what are they? I mean, why? And they were all over the place. There's another one, there's another one, there's another one. So I started to do the research, and I found there are more than 800 Somali-owned NEMT companies in Minnesota. I said, who are they transporting? What are they doing? And then we found out, of course, that the whole thing is fraud. It's all part of the network, and the transportation is the hub of the wheel of the fraud. Autism centers is a spoke, the child care is a spoke, because all those people have to supposedly be transported. So all those transportation companies are fraudulently billing Medicaid for all these trips that never existed. And then I found out through a contact down in Faribault, Minnesota, that they were saying that they're running people up from Faribault to the Twin Cities. For what? They don't have a chiropractor in Faribault. It was all fraudulent. And it just kept spreading, and the tentacles went everywhere.
Watch, they found a man guilty. A man actually pled guilty here to the exact fraud that we're talking about.
The top defendant in the fraud scheme dubbed Pit Stop 66 by the Minnesota Attorney General's office has pleaded guilty. 44-year-old Nazro Takal has admitted her role in recruiting more than 300 Somali American residents of Faribault to schedule phony rides to the Twin Cities for medical services in order to scam taxpayer reimbursement money to the tune of more than $1 million. Of that fraud total amount, Takal defrauded nearly $39,000 in phony interpreter services that she claimed to provide. Pit Stop 66 is probably the most complicated fraud scheme the Attorney General's office has prosecuted over the last several years. The scammers figured out that Faribault is about 60 miles from the Twin Cities, close to the maximum distance for medical transportation services to be reimbursed at the maximum rate.
The total alleged fraud for Pit Stop 66 is $2.6 million. 8 people have been charged. Of those, 4 have now been convicted, including Tackall, who will be sentenced in October. I'm Lou Bergoose. Follow.
David, it is pretty amazing how you were spot on about all this.
Yeah, I uncovered all of this. I've been working on this for years, and I've been working with Lou Raguse on and off on this issue. And what was really frustrating was I was contacting elected officials in Washington, D.C., saying this fraud is out of control in Minnesota. Nobody here will do anything. We need the federal government to come in. We need your help to come in here and tell these people they're using federal money. So that transportation money, that's Medicaid dollars, which is a blend of federal and state money. And they kept telling them, you've got to get the federal government to come in here and drop the hammer on these people and tell them they're committing felonies. Every time they issue a payment to a fraudulent company, it's a felony. And it's hundreds and thousands and hundreds of and millions of payments. And I just said, this has to stop. And so I'm glad that we finally made some headway and we got some of these convictions, but that's how long I've been working on this and how enormous this problem is, that to even get a conviction, it took this much work and this much research. And now we're finding it's throughout the entire country. And so people have to wake up, and they are now finally, and they have to keep pushing. They have to just drive their elected officials crazy with phone calls and emails saying, stop the fraud, stop the fraud.
Yeah, because
these government officials are not trying to answer because they're involved as well. You got Tim Walz resigning. Crazy work, ladies and gentlemen.
This is not just a Minnesota problem. We know it's in all 50 states, and I even have a...
Yo, we are the laughingstock of the world. We have to fix this. We cannot let these foreign people come into our country and scam the taxpayers' dollar. That's some crazy work. I can't even finish that statement. How are we gonna let foreign people finesse? But you got to go to work, right? But they sit back and capitalize off of your hard work? Absolutely not.
Video coming out from California very, very soon. A lot of people are wondering about that in the chat, about some of the fraud that was taking place, that is currently taking place, and that video will be coming out in the coming days. But we know that the fraud in places like California bad. I've heard Colorado's bad. I've heard Ohio's bad. Maine's bad. Seattle or Washington in general is bad. And so we know that this fraud's been happening. And something that's interesting, something that I thought was really cool about our videos, right after we posted the video, the HHS froze $185 million of federal funding to Minnesota, for instance.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Yo, imagine you're a Somali. You thinking life is sweet. You scamming with your open thong sandals, ashy ass ankles. And you look at your bank account and it's frozen.
And then they also paused it to some of the other states as well. But what happened, instead of these states proving any form of being a legitimate business, they actually are now actively suing the HHS because they know that they have been caught in this fraud, and now they're trying to like extend.
Yo, so now they're suing. So imagine committing a scam. You're being held accountable, talking about show the receipts, and you counter that by suing.
Their time for them to actually have to prove that they're legitimate business. And what worries me is that when they, for instance, these states are going to sue, now it's going to give them an extra layer to try to uncover and try to, not to uncover the fraud, but to try to cover the fraud, actually, by creating false documentations. And we know that that's been happening for years in Minnesota. It just came out the other day that they have been doing all this false documentation for a large portion of that for Medicare, I believe, and for healthcare inside of one of the programs inside of Minnesota. But what worries me is that almost because we caught them so red-handed, that now these other states and these other programs are just gonna have all this time to make all these.
Comment caught my eye. Lloyd Gittins, I believe your name is. Sorry for butchering your name. Says deport scammers to where? I would say deport them back where they came from. Let's go to the poll in the chat. So we have 414 votes so far. We have 90% says yes, and 10% says no. The poll majority says yes. So my question to the chat, and shout out to the chat, we seen the judge reverse a ruling. Somebody was held in the courtroom for fraud. The jury said unanimous decision, guilty, and the judge overturned that. Now the person is free committing more fraud. So I think the best way to handle the situation, let me know in the chat. I think the best way to handle the situation is to send them back where they came from. Because nowhere else in the world are you going to go into somebody's country, scam off the hardworking back of the next person. What? Stop the cap. Also, so many of these people are voting. Why? It is all type of problems. They're voting, they're stealing, they're rude.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Imagine being in America and you have the opportunity to work, make an honest living, and send that money back to your homeland, because that's what people do. They come to America, they work until the bone shows, and they get a calling card. Y'all remember the calling card? They will get a calling card and talk on the phone for hours, because the price of $1 in a lot of these third world countries is nothing. So something is better than nothing. You could take care of a whole family. One person could take care of his whole family if he resides in America. And eventually get enough bread to get your family the proper documentation to come to America, and y'all can reside together in the land of Babylon, in the land of opportunity. But instead, you take advantage of your opportunity and you scam. So yeah, I think I agree with the chat. You got 90% says yes. I absolutely agree. You had your opportunity. First of all, people risk their whole life to come to America. Why? Because once again, it's the land of opportunity. You can get a whole degree in a third world country, but the price of $1 is nothing. So what good is that degree? It's really effed up in a lot of these locations around the world, ladies and gentlemen. So people risk their life, literally, to come to America, risk getting deported, risk being separated from their families to work. But yet people that reside in America are scamming. How trash is that? How trash is it to wake up every single day, instead of working, actually putting positive energy into the universe, actually putting some type of asset to the world? You're taking. And not only are you taking, you're taking off the American taxpayers' back.
Fake documentations. Does that worry you at all?
Well, no doubt they're doing that. And you saw that Judy Randall, the legislative auditor for the state of Minnesota, said that she has evidence that employees of the Minnesota Department of Human Services were backdating forms, falsifying documentation, and she's never seen that in 27 years. You got the tape?
Yeah, right here.
Against fraud. The performance audit shows the Behavioral Health Administration sent millions of dollars out the door in grants without making proper checks into who was receiving them. And that is not even the most jaw-dropping finding.
And so this is criminal behavior by state employees. And every time they do it, it's a felony.
Yeah, so right here alone, there should be arrests that are made from these people that are literally committing felonies.
Julie, according to the nonpartisan legislative auditor, this is another case of mismanagement of taxpayer money. But perhaps the most explosive revelation is that managers within DHS, the Department of Human Services, tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents.
I do want to talk about what a serious issue this is and how it is frankly unacceptable.
Another sobering report by the Office of the Legislative Auditor, this one concerning the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants to providers treating mental health and drug and alcohol addiction, hundreds of millions of dollars each year. The audit found them issuing grants to applicants without a bidding process.
So what we saw is that there was multiple entities that could have been eligible, and they chose not to provide a justification for why they were picking those.
This report is quite stunning.
One outrageous example, the auditors found a grantee that was paid $672,000 for 1 month of work without any info on what they do. And the audit says the grant manager who paid it then left DHS a couple days later and became a paid consultant for that company.
Wrong, raping children.
Wrong.
Right or wrong, killing random citizens.
Definitely wrong.
Right or wrong, enriching yourself as the sitting president of the United States.
Definitely wrong.
Okay, thank you, because I probably never would have got that with our witness. Our witness who somehow is a lawyer but does not understand how it works with witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what all kind of cases she tried, but typically when you come into a space and somebody's a witness, then they sit there and they answer questions instead of asking questions. And then we also have this objection that we use as lawyers called non-responsive when a witness fails to actually answer the question. But nevertheless, let me address the survivors, because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors. Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughing stock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ, as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country, because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massie, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going. My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on, and frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission. Not only have you lied about both, you've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slotkin, just like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed. I completely don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ, because you don't seem to be good at your job. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting these journalists. In fact, we know after Georgia Fort and Don Lemon were arrested, we know that there were homes of journalists that were raided. We know that threatened prosecution against students protesting your actions and forced tech companies to remove apps used to track ISIS activities. But let's circle back to you protecting pedophiles and creeps, because I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter. So let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contains more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, this is a good one. Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in these files that suggests that he's...
Hold on, you're not saying that he's a pedo, so what are you saying? You pretty much are saying that he is a pedo.
very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up. And this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like how the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed
Let it breathe. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very depressing to see what's transpired with these kids, these minors, these sickos behind closed doors. So I'm happy it's getting exposed. It's very overstimulating for sure, but it's the truth. We can't ignore the truth. We cannot be immune to what's going on.
the investigation, or how
But hold on, God forbid, let it be one of your loved ones that was a victim. You will be very passionate about what's going on. But because you're not a victim, or any one of your family members is a victim of the Epstein files, you have some people that could care less. But are we surprised that's the world that we live in? People don't care. That's why I'm spreading awareness. Because while there's the Super Bowl going on and people are distracted, we have people going on these private planes, private boats, and doing the unthinkable to minors, ladies and gentlemen. And to keep it a bean, sports is not even the same as how it used to be. It's all a distraction.
your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be...
I see something in the chat that caught my eye. Sorry for butchering your name. I think it's Jose Pivey. Jose? I'm so sorry. I know your name is not Jose. He said no one will be punished. Yeah, I think so. You know, I think money talks, and somehow no one's going to be held accountable, but we will see. And we're definitely going to document what is going to transpire. Make sure you guys subscribe to this platform. We're going to document everything for the most part, and hit the bell notification so you will be notified when I do go live.
remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history, an attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from Missouri is recognized. Excuse me, gentleman from Kansas, the attorney general, former attorney general, Mr. Schmidt is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and General Bondi, thanks for being here. Did you have anything you wanted to say before we talk?
I do. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, my friend, for many years. I find it interesting that she didn't even want to try, Congresswoman Crockett, to ask any questions, because she certainly did not condemn her leader, Hakeem Jeffries, for taking money from Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein was convicted. And I will be brief to give you your time, Congressman. This is what she didn't want to talk about. Texas, from Cuba, convicted, homicide, arson, weapon offense.
Convicted. You know, so what are we talking about? Convict Texas, some of these perpetrators homicide. That rape these women that are sitting behind you, that you refuse to even acknowledge they are here.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Kansas.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a few seconds back to make up for the yelling? Thank you. General, did you have anything further to say?
Texas, convicted of homicide, Cecil Joseph from Dominican Republic. Texas, convicted for kidnapping, rape, Khalid Khan from Afghanistan. That's why they want to talk about Epstein and not what's happening in their own states.
Thank you, General, and thank you for being here. And this has been quite a spectacle to observe today. I think it's sad. I ran for Congress because I thought we had serious problems in this country we wanted to try to fix together, and this performance today, not yours, General, but some of my colleagues, has not shored up my confidence that we are up to the task.
They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." Only after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual.
What? Who says that? I love the torture video. What a sicko.
Freaking frog! Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon. Second, the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades." To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi,
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she
question.
ask Merrick Garland this?
I am
Twice,
reclaiming
when
my
he sat in
time,
chair.
and when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's reclaimed her
I'm not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say this.
I'll direct it to
What
you.
a massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is
I'm not going to get
interrupting.
in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing
and
theatrics.
let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Elaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up. And I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level,
Chairman,
The chair now recognizes the chair.
on what you have done.
Time of the
I
gentlelady
yield
expired.
back.
The gentlelady, you have no time to yield back.
Theatrics.
We appreciate the thought.
Lauren, and I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a minor in psychology, and I am currently in the process of getting my certification in paralegal studies. I have been reading and taking notes on the release of the new Epstein files, so you do not have to. I have begun my research with Mr. Trump. Now, he did tell a reporter today.
Now that nothing came out about me.
Wrong. I would like to start off by saying I do think it's a little weird that my notes are dated 131 and I have that the Trump name appears in the files 5,333 times, but when I went to go check today, February 4th, it only says 4,820 times. When you first search his name, one of the first 10 data sets that you see.
Ladies and gentlemen, so what she's trying to say is that they are deleting a lot of files. A lot of information that was released has been removed. So there's a lot of stuff that has not been discovered.
I have to stand on this side to cover some of the words because I'm afraid that TikTok will take this down, but I will just read word for word what it says. Now, they are just stated as victim number 1 or Jane Doe. Jane Doe saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. Trump would then auction her. Donald Trump, he then measured the children's and by entering a finger into them. Now.
Whoa, pause. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all see that on the screen, and I'm not gonna read that. That's some crazy. Yo, how do they even have files like this?
You're a freaking frog!
You can probably gauge what he was talking about. The other guests there included Elon, Alan Dershowitz, Bob Musk.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're saying that Trump's name is on these Epstein files. How many times? Over 20 times? They're saying that Trump's name is all over these Epstein files. How is he going to beat this one? Yo, Trump is supposed to be our best president, right? He's way better than Bush, way better than Joe Biden, not even close. Who's going to be the next person? If he gets caught up, who's going to be the next president?
John Jr., Yvonne.
Say it ain't so, Charlie.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Yo, we are living in some crazy times, and that's why we have to take advantage of every single day because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We really don't. Not to instill fear to the masses, but appreciate every single day as if it's your last because you don't know. I mean, appreciate every day. Do not take your life for granted.
Ivanka Trump and Eric Trump.
And just to harp on that just a little bit more. I know things couldn't get underneath your skin, but if you really put stuff into context, if you have your health, if you're blessed, if you have a house to go back to, clothes to put on your back, food to eat, then you're blessed. Put things into context, it could be way worse. These poor souls, ladies and gentlemen, as victims of these Epstein files, these poor minors, could you imagine the fear in their heart of being exposed in front of the who knows what behind closed doors, these elites, these reptilians, these soulless beings doing the unthinkable to the minors? And now they're reliving that trauma through these Epstein files. But justice has to be done. It's very unfortunate they have to relive that trauma because their names is all over the list. But we have to expose these demons that's walking, that's sharing the same earth as us. That's some crazy work. Ladies and gentlemen, they have Trump name on these lists, Elon Musk. Yo, what is Elon Musk doing on? Yo, I read somewhere that Elon Musk was begging to be on this list of Epstein Island. He was begging. You freaky ass frog.
You're a freaking frog!
Now, a lot of the other files on there is just random news clippings, random emails, which I'll get into later. And then it goes into one of the first big court cases, Epstein and Trump versus Katie Johnson, who, keep in mind, was a 13-year-old child. And I emphasize child. Now, people will say that the case was dismissed, but the case was first dismissed because the prosecutor filed it under the wrong form number. So it had to get dismissed by the judge, and then they restarted it a couple weeks later. Okay, let's preface that before anyone says anything else. I moved to the side so you can pause and read more if you would like to, but the first allegation is that Donald Trump engaged in depraved acts with the 13-year-old. The second one is that he made her 8. The third one is that both...
Oh no, we're not getting to that part. That's not YouTube friendly. Yeah, we know they are doing the unthinkable to these kids. There's only so much that I can showcase through the masses. That is something that I've seen, but I cannot upload. That's some crazy work, man. We're really living with low vibrational entities that feed off your energy. You are special. Do not think any lower of yourself. You have people doing the most trying to kidnap your ass. Trying to harvest. I mean, hold on. We're going to have to keep it YouTube. Hold on. I can't even say that statement.
Epstein and Trump tied her up and raped her, a 13-year-old. And the fourth one, because I'm not going to read any more after that, is that they took her to a lot of parties for children and auctioned her. That is one of the many court cases that Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein were involved in, not including with other children. Now, that was in 2016. Let's jump it all the way back to 2004. So 14 years prior to this, they already started a friendship, as much as he would like to deny that he did not know him. So in 2004, Trump often visited Epstein in his Palm Beach house. Now, this has already been confirmed in the depositions of Epstein's houseman. He bought the house for $41 million from Trump at Palm Beach. Now, that did not turn out so well because they got into a big catfight. Trump said in a New York Magazine interview that in 2002, he had already been friends with Epstein for 15 years, so they have now been friends for 17 years at this time. So, at the time of 2004, Trump would often visit Epstein in his Palm Beach house, which was confirmed in depositions of Epstein's houseman. Now, in Palm Beach, Epstein wanted to buy a house for $41 million. Now, when Trump said in an interview in 2002 with New York Magazine that he had already been friends with Epstein for 15 years. So now in 2004, they had already been friends for 17 years. In 2004, Trump would often visit Epstein in his Palm Beach house. This was confirmed in the depositions of Epstein's houseman. So Epstein wanted to buy a house for $41 million in Palm Beach from Trump. Trump ended up slipping in at the very last minute and buying it for $55 million. Then they said they got into an intensive scrutiny over paperwork, so they ended up selling the house for $125 million. And this was all said in an email by Michael Wolff, who was an American journalist at the time. And here's the paragraph with all the information. You can look up Michael Wolff right here. He is currently being sued by the Trump administration for leaking a lot of emails. Also, he was co-conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to take down Donald Trump. Now, if you go back into the files and you just type in this email, which is one of Jeffrey Epstein's personal email accounts, one of them, you can see all of the 650,000 emails. I have already started to create a list of all of the different names that I see in the emails. I will go into them later.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Attorney General Bondi, right here. We are joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." Only after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon.
Politicians are just walking off, thinking it's okay Tuesday, and they want to go visit the Trump. They want to blame the Trump administration. We have Democrats blaming ICE. I'm tired. My people are suffering. I'm scared for my little brother. My people are suffering, and these people just walk off. We have a governor who fucking doesn't care. How many more people are gonna freaking die? How many more people are gonna go homeless? And how many more people are gonna be trafficked in our freaking system?
Motherfuckers ain't in love with the game. Y'all don't respect the game. That's why y'all